One of my small gripes with Warframe is that there aren't enough spacey futuristic weapons. Though there are some. Meet the Staticor. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 10 secondary weapon, the Staticor. As per the usual, I'm going to have a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, then we're going to switch to a souped up setup and wrap it all up with Warframe Buffs. Though please keep in mind that my builds and guides usually take a more new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, then please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Staticor. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that I'm gonna need a couple of guinea pigs. First of all, this one works kinda like a throwing weapon, though unlike the Despair for example, the overhand throw and the underhand throw are exactly identical and it will hit the same spot. But this still is a projectile based weapon, so you will have travel time. No real fall off to the projectiles, but there is quite a fair bit of travel time. So you can simply fire like so at targets if you so desire. You will see that upon impact you will be generating an explosion. Keep in mind that the projectile has two sources of damage. First the impact and then the explosion. Ideally you want to get both of them, but of course if you have trouble aiming and all whatnot, and again keep in mind that it does have a lengthy travel time to them, you can hit the feet if you so desire. Now alternatively what you can do is charge up your shots for a Hadouken, Kamehameha, whatever you guys want to call it, and you will see that after charging free ammo it will release a bigger ball of energy which will explode on contact. The normal balls of energy have a 3 meter wide radius when it comes to the explosion, and a big charge one has 8 meters. Also the damage gets quadrupled, yes, 4 times the amount of normal damage. Now one more thing about this, if you add punch through to the weapon, it simply will not generate additional explosions as it goes through the target, so keep that one in mind. It simply just generates the impact damage and it will explode when it runs out of punch through or when it runs out of the default range. The charge shot unfortunately is extremely slow, as you can see, and it will detonate after a short amount of time. Projectile flight speed will affect this, so it will go faster and further. One more thing, if you charge up your shot, you will see that after free ammo, it's at full, but it keeps draining ammo the more you keep it charged. You can cancel the charge by pressing your R key. I don't know on consoles, however, what key would that be. Keep in mind that after you are fully charged, even though it consumes more ammo, it doesn't necessarily mean that it gives you more damage. Quadruples the damage at full charge, and then you should really release it. And one last thing, while charging, if you approach an enemy or at full charge, it will knock them back but consume your charge and your ammo, so keep that one in mind. It does very small amounts of damage, so it's not really worth it, only if you need a little bit of crowd control. And that's pretty much it. Next we're gonna jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is gonna be 60 out of 60 for mine, but if yours has only 30 out of 30, then jump into actions and install the Hadouken catalyst. The Hadouken catalyst can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie. More often than not, I have to pay 20 plat for this one because it's not so easy to get, unfortunately. My weapon has been formatted a total of 5 times, and for the weapon builds I'm recommending you guys about 4 forma should do it. Accuracy is 16.7. Now this is the accuracy of a bow, of a throwing weapon if you will. The accuracy is fine, absolutely perfect. The problem is the travel time. The charge rate is 3.0, but again, 2 full charge and it will consume free ammo. Critical chance is low at 14%, but the crit multi is actually quite good at 2.2. If you follow my content, you know what that means. Fire rate is 3.5, and we can increase the fire rate to get better charge rate for our big Hadouken. And we also got a magazine capacity of 45 with a reload of 1.5, so the uptime is actually pretty good. And when I see a big or solid magazine side with a fast reload speed, I'm thinking rate of fire, I'm thinking pepper my targets with a whole lot of explosions just to get them out of the way, and we're gonna test that a bit later. Status chance is pretty high at 28%, and you'll see that by default the Staticor deals radiation damage. Now this is excellent if you're going up against Grineer, because some Grineer units have alloy armor which is weak to radiation. Of course Eidolon joints for example also are weak to radiation, but please, for the love of God, do not take the Staticor versus Eidolons. Let's start slapping on some mods. Of course, we're gonna start off with mandatory mods. Hornet Strike, 220% more damage. Next, we're gonna go into multi-shot. Multi-shot, 120% from barrel diffusion, and yes, this will mean multiple projectiles, multiple explosions, even the big one. We're also going to go into Lethal Torrent for 60% fire rate and 60% multi-shot. In this case, Lethal Torrent is a huge win for the Staticor because again, it means better charge time. We can rapid fire a whole lot better. Definitely highly recommend Lethal Torrent. Next, we're going to go into crit chance and crit damage. Even though the base crit chance is low, going into crit is still better than going further into status with this weapon. Of course, really depending on the encounter. Pistol Gambit, 120% critical chance. If you guys have Prime mods, by all means go for your Prime versions. We're gonna switch to that a tad later. When it comes to crit chance, Hydraulic Crosshairs is also a viable option. This one can be farmed from the mission, from Pavlov's spy mission. Link in the card now for easy way mode to farm this one. All you need is Limbo. In 5 minutes, you're gonna do all 3 of them without any pain at all, I promise. Definitely worth having. We're not gonna use it on the Staticor because this one works off the base status chance of 14%, so we're not really gonna get all that huge of a benefit. But if you're feeling like Mr. Pro and so strong, then you can go for Hydraulic Crosshairs instead of Pistol Gambit because the value of the crit chance will be a tad higher. However, Pistol Gambit is a whole lot more reliable and that's what I'm recommending. Next, we're gonna go into crit damage, of course. Target Cracker, 60% extra crit damage, bumping the crit multi to 3.5, and once again, if you have primed, go for primes. What happens next, we gotta talk about elemental damage because this is how you should further augment your weapon from this point onwards. What you can do is further increase the irradiation damage. For example, if I add more heat to the weapon, let's say, I don't know, heated charge or prime heated charge, you will see that I will get additional heat. This one will not combine into the full radiation of the weapon. What I need to do to increase that radiation is go into electricity, so I form on the weapon an additional radiation combo. And of course now everything gets mixed in together. Think of the default radiation of the weapon as a very last mod somewhere around here. So yes, just adding heat will not add to the radiation. What we're going to be testing against today are the Grenier. These are some really tough targets equipped with alloy armor and ferrite armor. We already have radiation, so we're going to go into corrosive. I normally test against Grenier because again, these are some of the toughest targets in Warframe. Testing against Infested or Corpus will simply yield better results than testing against Grenier. Of course, swapping your elemental combo in and out depending on the encounter is mandatory. For example, against Corpus faction, you can build gas, which on a status proc will bypass their shields and deal damage to their health. Magnetic damage will deal extra damage to their shields, or you can just build Toxin, which once again bypasses their shields and deals damage to their health. If you're up against the Infested, these guys are fairly weak, but there's a lot of them, and the Staticor does great against them because of all the AoE potential the weapon has. You can just build heat against the Infested, and more often than not, that's gonna be enough. But back to our sheep, and we're gonna test against Grenier, so we're gonna make some Corrosive, and we're gonna have Corrosive together with Radiation, which is absolutely awesome against Grenier. 60 mods or 90 mods? I'm gonna recommend the 60 mods to further increase that status chance. In the case of the Staticor, there is no question the 60 mods perform a whole lot better. Jolt sadly is not farmable from in-game. This one is only brought by Baroquetier, the Void Trader. So when you see him bring one, pick up multiple copies so you can make a bit of plat later on. 60% electricity and 60% status chance. Next we're gonna go into Toxin, and this one is a whole lot easier to obtain. It's called Pistol Pestilence, farmable from Corrupted Vor in the Void. 60% Toxin and 60% status chance, and now I have Corrosive with radiation on the weapon, and my status chance got pumped up to 93.1%. So a whole lot of status chance. Radiation's proc will mean that the enemies will get confused and start attacking one another, which is some nice crowd control, considering that when hitting level 100 plus, you don't really want them to hit you back for the most part. We still have one option available, one weapon slot remaining. Now, this is your option slot. Plug in this one whatever you feel comfortable with. Keep in mind that adding punch through on the Staticor is not exactly a good idea, and I don't recommend it. What you can do is further increase your elemental combo by adding either more into Corrosive. For example, if I go and add some electricity, I'm gonna get my Corrosive to even a higher value. As it is now, my Corrosive is still higher than the radiation, so it will proc over it. What I recommend you guys doing is going into a little bit of fire rate, and let's explore some fire rate options. First of all, Gunslinger is a solid choice, and this is gonna be the one I'm gonna be recommending to you. 72% fire rate. Alternatively, you can go for Anemic Agility. This one will grant you 90% fire rate, but at the cost of 15% damage. This is not the same proposition as Vile Acceleration versus Speed Trigger, 60 versus 90% attack speed at the cost of 15% damage. This is only 18%, the difference in fire rate between Gunslinger and Anemic Agility. So basically you're trading 18% fire rate at the cost of 15% damage. I don't like that trait, so I'm going to be recommending Gunslinger. And this will be the initial build we're going to be testing, so let's see what it can do. I'm going to be using Limbo, just let me make sure I don't have any arcanes. No arcanes that will skew my test results, and never mind that build. That's my blow up Limbo build and it's totally troll, don't use it. We're going to unpause the AI and I'm going to let him come at me for the most part. Let's go. And this is what I like to do with a build such as this for the Staticor. Look at that. No prime mods, nothing special, and of course by aiming at their feet, I'm not gonna get the most amount of damage, but at least I'm gonna get the explosion. Keep in mind that you still wanna hit your targets and not the ground, because a fair good chunk of damage when it comes to the Staticor is from that impact damage. So you wanna get both on the target. Of course, the most amount of damage will be from getting headshots. Just keep in mind the travel time this thing has. And when you see that the health bars of the enemy is gone red, that means that all the armor has been stripped successfully from them. You don't really want to get to that point, because then your corrosive bonus gets completely destroyed, but you can approach things like that. When it comes to the charge shot, I don't really use it all that much, especially considering how slow it moves, but if you're, for example, going on in defense or something like that, between waves, charging up your shot and firing at a corridor where you know the enemies will come from is definitely gonna be cool. And I also use it for a bit of added entertainment value, if not anything else. That's gonna be the base build I'm recommending to you guys. This is a solid choice. If you don't have Jolt, use the 90% electricity mod and forget about it. Next, we're gonna switch to a prime setup. It's the exact same setup with two major exceptions. First of all, I dropped a 60-60 mod for a 90 mod, so I'm safe from overstripping. And of course, I'm using Prime Pistol Gambit together with Prime Target Cracker to get more crit chance and crit damage. We're gonna use one arcane. It's called Arcane Avenger. Now this one is extremely important because it represents an additive after bonus. 30% critical chance, 14% chance on damage. Now this one is important once again because it's an additive after bonus. So basically my Staticor with the buff up will go to 70% critical chance. Now that is definitely huge. And that's pretty much it. Let's go once again against these enemies. I'm gonna respawn them. Keep in mind that even if the AI was paused, they would not take extra damage from my ranged attack. That is an old bug that has been fixed for some time now. So we're just gonna go at them. It's the Arcane Avenger proc, and because that critical chance, I'm gonna be able to tear through these guys a whole lot faster. I go for fire rate when it comes to the Staticor. Just keep in mind that an approach such as this is kind of a double-edged sword. You will be having some ammo issues in a 10, 15, 20 minute mission or even more. If that is the case, then I recommend you go for Carrier or Carrier Prime with ammo case. Pick and choose when you aim for their feet and when you aim for their head, depending on the distance and on the enemy. And that's pretty much all there is to it. There is one more thing we gotta do, max everything out with Warframe Buffs. And for that, we're gonna need Lady Mirage Prime. And let's see what kind of buffs she's got. Pistol Lamp, 27% extra damage to pistols. This will apply to the Staticor. If you're going up against Grenier, then Corrosive Projection is guaranteed to give you better results, but Pistol Lamp will grant its benefit regardless of the target you're shooting. And you can also pump up the value of the bonus here by going into a very specific drift. It's called Coaction Drift. From my point of view, it's not really worth it. You do get more than 27%. If you want to know exactly how much more, check out the wiki. Next, for arcanes, of course, we're going to be using Arcane Avenger for the reasons stated earlier with Arcane Precision. On headshot, 80% chance for plus 120% damage to pistols for 8 seconds. Now let's see how much damage we can get with some Warframe buffs. But first, we cannot go outside looking like this. There we go. Respawn the exact same targets once again, and I'm gonna be activating Mirage's third ability for a massive damage increase, and of course the clones as well. We're just gonna go for it. Absolutely murder and annihilate these targets in a matter of seconds for the most part. One reload. Anybody still alive? Nope. And that's pretty much it. What a fantastic weapon at only MR10. Huge AoE capabilities. It's a lot of fun to use, and to be honest, probably one of my most favorite secondaries in the game. Not gonna take the place of my Bolto because that one can bolt things to walls, but there is no denying that the Staticor is one hell of a weapon and I highly recommend it. The only drawback to the Staticor from my point of view is the fact that it has a Riven disposition of only 1 out of 5, and I don't recommend Rivens for dispo 1 weapons. From my point of view, they're not worth it, but of course, if you love the weapon and you want to try to get the most out of it, then by all means try to get a decent Riven. A good Riven would be something like multi-shot, damage with a nice negative, something like that. Going into crit chance, considering it applies to the base critical chance of the weapon, is not necessarily the smartest thing to do, but damage and multi-shot, you can't really go wrong with that. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. I can't realistically promise you that it'll be done by next time, but I will be reading through each and every comment. But until next time, guys, bye bye.